The Ministry of Sport and Community Development are having two new programs. Let Her Play, Girl, Defend Yourself, and Let Her Play, Dance Nation. This morning we're going to explore both of them and find out exactly how you can be a part of it and how it's going to help change your life. And to help me have that conversation, let me welcome Hazel Ann Paul, Physical Education and Sport Officer 1 at the Ministry of Sport and Community Development, and Ian Levier, Chief Instructor of Krav Maga Global Academy, Caribbean, and Director of Krav Maga Global. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
Not a problem.
It's a pleasure.
Let me start with you, Hazel Ann. Tell me about, you're not doing these two new programs, but they're under the Pink Rain campaign?
Yes.
All right. Tell me about the Pink Rain campaign in general first.
Okay, well, the Pink Rain campaign is our initiative for women and girls to become a lot more active, physically active. The initiative was really piloted by our minister, and she really wanted to push women and girls to have more physical activity, engagement. And we wanted to use non-traditional activities to kind of draw them out, because the traditional ones they may shy away from, but something that is a little different, it may draw them in and kind of perk their interest. So those are the activities that we use, particularly in this initiative, the Pink Rain campaign.
But was there a shortage of women being active and...
Not necessarily a shortage, but a lot of women, we leave ourselves undone, generally. And we focus on everybody else, everything else. And then after, when you look at yourself, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling overweight, I'm feeling tired, I'm feeling stressed. And just 20 minutes, 30 minutes of physical activity could really boost whatever situation may be happening with them. So we wanted to challenge women to just become more active. Do something for yourself. For 1 hour, do something for yourself.
All right.
Physically active.
So break it down for me in terms of how does the program run? So it's two separate programs.
It's two separate programs. Okay, so under the Pink Rain campaign, we have several programs. The Let Her Play programs are the ones that are more physically active.
Right, so that's the ones we're talking about this morning.
That's the ones we are talking about this morning.
All right, so the Let Her Play programs, we have two of them. We have the Girl Defend Yourself and we have the Let Her Play Dance Nation.
Yes.
Let me jump across to Ian to find out a little bit more about the Defend Yourself because he's the Krav Maga specialist. So I imagine that's why they brought you on.
Yes.
First of all, in your classes usually, do you see lots of women?
Yes, we do. What we have found is that a lot of women are beginning to realize that there is empowerment in training. There is benefits in physical activity first to begin with, because a lot of times they aren't coming because they purely want to defend themselves. They're looking for some avenue to get fit, to exercise, to relieve mental stress and so on.
That relieving of mental stress part is very, very important.
Absolutely. And then they get involved and they realize, but wait a minute, this is not just physical activity. We're doing things that I can actually use to help me defend myself. So we have found that, yes, we have a huge, I would say the majority of the persons, when you make a comparisons, would be more females in our classes. But initially they're coming in for fitness, for health reasons, and then they realize, what I can really use what I'm doing here to defend myself.
Now, tell me a little bit more about Krav Maga itself, because, it's a form of martial arts.
So Krav Maga, as the name sometimes throw people off, like Krav Maga. What is Krav Maga?
It sounds Russian.
It isn't. So Krav Maga is Hebrew for contact combat.
Contact combat.
Yes.
Okay. It's kind of on the nose there.
It's very on the nose. And as the name would suggest, Krav Maga Global Academy and Krav Maga Global, it really is a global organization of which I am proud to be the director for the Caribbean region. So Krav Maga was created by a Hungarian, Emi Lichtenfeld, who was persecuted during the time of World War II and had to flee his country. But during that time, whilst he was living in Hungary, he was a boxer, he was a national wrestler, and he was also involved in gymnastics. His father was also inspector in law enforcement. So he was able to merge all of his talents together with the law enforcement aspects and being able to create the system called Krav Maga. So it's a self-defense system that has 3 pillars: self-defense, combat and fighting, and third-party protection.
So the gymnastics just gonna leave out?
It's a part of it because you have the rolling, you have different aspects of it that is involved in the Krav Maga.
All right, okay. This is very interesting. So, I mean, for you, how important is it for women and girls to be able to get this knowledge of self-defense, to get this physical exercise, the mental stress relief, all that? How important is that?
It is extremely important. When we look at the population and we see, you look at the makeup of it, we have the kids, we have the young adults, and then we have seniors. And then we look at the physiology of the makeup. We have men, we have women. And men generally are physiologically stronger. So women are inherently weaker, and I'm not saying this biasly, I'm just saying from a physiological point of view. And from the time we're born, we have 2 streams of conditioning. Boys are pushed to be active, to be aggressive, to go out, to be go-getters, and women are supposed to be submissive, subdued, not get involved in any kind of aggression, not show any kind of aggression. And then so you have that conditioning from very small, and you grow up into that. And then you look at what's happening in society, not just in Trinidad and Tobago, but globally, and you see who is more susceptible to physical issues in terms of trauma, in terms of assault, in terms of attacks, and more so violent attacks. And then we look at it from a domestic situation. Who is more susceptible? Women and girls.
But tell me something, the Krav Maga, does it matter your size? Because you talk about the physical makeup of men versus women. So even if these women learn the techniques, does the size matter? Does the actual physical strength matter?
This is one of the things that I love about Krav Maga. And I've been involved in self-defense and martial arts for over 3 decades. I've represented the country in kickboxing. So I'm an athlete, or used to be an athlete back in the day. So I have had the exposure and the experience of being involved in martial arts, in combat sports. Krav Maga is not a sport. It takes into consideration your ability to think. It's not about just fighting, punching, and kicking. When you think about the actual conflict or the confrontation, you have to work backwards. How did we get to this point? And what could I have done differently to prevent this from happening? So we deal with the psychology of self-defense first. Then we don't teach techniques, we teach principles and concepts. Because if you have to think about self-defense, especially where everything is fast-paced now, right? We're in the internet age, or microwave age, so to speak. And you have to think about, if I have to learn a technique for every type of an attack that is possible or likely to come my way, we spend years and years and years and years training. So what Krav Maga does is it trains on natural, instinctive responses. The things that you would do naturally in terms of somebody try to punch you, somebody try to kick you, somebody try to stab you, somebody grab you from behind. What would you do instinctively? And then we build on that. So when we think about your instinct and your natural reactions, we all have different responses in terms of how we react. So we build on that individually. The size of the person doesn't matter. So there's a saying, it's not the size of dog in the fight, but it's the size of fight in the dog.
I understand.
We have some women that are very tenacious.
I'm aware.
In terms of their approach. So the size of it, if you're learning a self-defense that depends on your size or your strength, it's not going to work.
I hear you.
So it has to work for everyone, and that's what Krav Maga delivers.
All right. Let me jump across now to the Dance Nation and find out a little bit more about the Dance Nation, because I understand that it is break dancing and hip hop.
Yes.
Why these 2 forms of dance?
Okay, well, this year in the Olympic Games, they are going to, for the first time, have breakdancing and hip-hop as part of an event, or one of the sporting events.
Feature medal, yeah.
Yes, and so we wanted to, even though we don't have an athlete, when the athletes from Trinidad and Tobago represented, we wanted to introduce our girls to that type of dance. And in doing that, somehow find some athletes in those girls. I mean, the programs that we have had thus far, we have had such fantastic responses, but we have also seen the potential that some of these girls have that they didn't even realize even existed in themselves. And it's now to put them on the path to get to that finish line. So we are really just given the springboard, and it's for them to develop all the techniques from the programs, take all that is vested from the program, and
make the most of it.
Yes.
Yeah. So I understand that Ian will be the man in charge of the Defend Yourself.
Yes.
Who's running the Dance Nation?
But we have Shakir Griffith, and he will be our facilitator for the Dance Nation program.
All right, fantastic. When does registration start? When does it end? How can people get to be a part of it?
Okay, well, for self-defense, our cycle 1 is finishing tomorrow.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So
we'll talk about that just now. Go ahead.
So we have been in action, and we will be finishing our cycle 1 session tomorrow.
When does cycle 2 start?
And cycle 2 starts on the 16th of April at the Cantaro Community Center.
And people can register from all now, or they have to wait
yes,
until?
so registration is open.
All right.
It will close on the 8th of April.
Okay.
And people could register. We have a space limit.
Of course.
So we want individuals to don't wait until the 99.9 seconds.
Do it until the 7th or the 8th.
Yes.
Come on, go and register now. You see this interview now, go and register one time.
Register now.
And the Dance Nation.
And our Dance Nation starts on Saturday.
Okay.
So registration for that.
For cycle 1.
For cycle 1. Even though it's closed, I know they have some young lady, some young person outside there who might be saying, I wish I got in. So I am giving you an opportunity today. I am going to close registration at 11:59
today?
p.m.
Okay, midnight.
Yes.
All right, so at midnight
Today.
tonight. Oh boy, only get in. Get in if you want to
Because
get
the
in.
registration really closed on Thursday last week.
Right.
But I'm giving persons that opportunity because we really want to encourage our young girls, particularly as we look at, what's happening in our secondary schools, and we want to encourage them to use that energy
positively.
in a positive way.
Most definitely. Ian, how was the classes been going? The ones that are wrapping up on tomorrow.
I have to admit that I have been very impressed with the level of enthusiasm, the level of desire that people have to want to defend themselves or to learn to defend themselves. When you see the transformation that takes place when people are serious about what they want to do, it's really comforting to know that that mentality exists. So we have been very proud to see the changes. When we look at the training, it does not just take a physical aspect into consideration only. We look at the emotional, we look at the psychological, the spiritual. So it's a holistic approach to self-defense.
And I imagine your confidence gets boosted along the way as well.
Absolutely, because one of the things that we do is we teach awareness in terms of being perceptive, all right? But, so you hear all the time the talk about being aware, all right? But when you are aware and you recognize something, then what do you do with that awareness? So that idea of the transitions that one has to go through quickly in the mind has to be clear of all chatter. So we are teaching that as well. So they're able to understand that being aware is one thing, but then setting boundaries is another thing, and then being assertive is another thing. And once they realize that, wait a minute, I'm being aware, I now can set boundaries, I'm being very assertive, it becomes empowering. And suddenly they realize, wait a minute, I have the power. And this is when you see the light goes off, and that is like gold to us.
Well, that's the aim that's the aim at the end of the day.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, you can head across to mscd.gov.tt and get more information about it, and you can definitely register to be a part of Cycle 2. You still have a chance for Cycle 1 of the Dance Nation, but that's until midnight tonight. So hurry up and head across to the website and register to be a part of it. But you can check out more information on Let Her Play Girl Defend Yourself and Let Her Play Dance Nation. It's happening all now, so just sign up and be a part of it. Hazel-Ann, thank you so much for joining us
Thank
this
you for
morning.
having us.
Thank you so much, Ian, for joining us this morning, and
pleasure.
congratulations on this effort. We look forward to seeing the fruits of it.
Yes,
Thank you.
definitely.
All right, guys, we take a quick break and come back with more in our morning show. Stick around.
Okay, let's go. Hey. Girls, girls, girls.